This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Hello, America, and welcome to the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach. Beach Talk Radio. Here are your hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We don't have our regular person here to rile up the crowd, but thank you for doing that anyway. We appreciate you coming to Wahoo Willie's today for brunch with the vice mayor. The mayor is off in Tampa with a bunch of people. They enjoyed the Kenny Chesney concert last night along with Zach Brown. And so the vice mayor is going to be pinch hitting in for the mayor today. And it was very nice of all you folks here that have come to see the vice mayor. I know, as Kim would say, they're not coming here to see you. They're coming here to see the guests. She would always say that. And is it too loud there? Is it too loud? Are we too loud? Can we turn it down a little?
It's a little loud.
And they all...
They're getting their ears blown
They all
off
started
over there.
yelling, 4 more years, 4 more years, because, I mean, it's obvious.
That was for
everybody.
him, not for you.
Right,
For you,
right.
they're like, please
No more
turn
years.
it down. Please turn it down.
Can I ask a serious question, dear? Do you think they could have pulled out the wrong tooth by any chance?
Why? Do you still have pain?
It's a little bit. Should I not have pain at this point? Is there any
No.
chance he could have pulled out the wrong tooth?
No. You
Right.
sympathy pains. You might
Sympathy
need
pains?
another tooth pulled, or
Yeah.
are you taking all your antibiotics?
Oh, yeah. Somebody asked me in the crowd how the Vicodin was going.
Oh, yeah. No, he didn't end up getting
And
that.
we
He
didn't-
got something else, but he didn't take that either.
I took we have the amoxicillin and the Motrin. I've been taking it
Yeah,
all.
but you got some of the
And
other
the
stuff.
phenobarbital.
No, that's for the dog.
Yeah.
Although there's an
Cookie's
idea.
doing okay. She hasn't had a seizure in since that one day where she had 3, and she's lost a little bit of her balance because of the phenobarbital. But I'd rather see her with that balance than see a dog go through a seizure, because there's nothing you can do about it. But so the big day today, hockey day today. I know Ed Schoonover is a big hockey fan. The playoffs start. The Rangers. Who are you rooting for? Who? The Panthers. Oh, come on. Florida's not a hockey state for crying out loud. Give me a break. There's no chip. The Panthers have 0 chance to win the Stanley Cup. The Rangers are playing the Washington Capitals today. Alex Ovechkin is going to be eliminated in 4 games, Ed. But who cares about hockey? Let's get right to the meat of the show today. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, your vice mayor for the last 4 years as a councilman and a vice mayor, and perhaps the next 4 years as your vice mayor. And he comes with his yellow shirt on, which is very nice. Jim Aderholt, everybody, the vice mayor. Big hand for Jim.
Shirt.
Thank you so much for coming and replacing the mayor for one weekend. You brought paperwork and everything.
Now, Kim, did you have a structural engineer check the stool before you did this? Because
Wow.
Very funny. Very
it
funny.
has a way
Wow.
of sabotaging things.
That was-
How dare you?
A2. A2.
So-
Brutus, yeah.
Jim, no filibustering today, Jim. I want you to stay on topic and do
All
not
right.
stray off the topic. So we have a lot to cover. And the first question, of course, is why did you decide that there, take his paperwork away? He's already distracted, not paying attention.
I just wanted to make sure I address your issues here, Ed. Go
Okay.
ahead. Yep.
The first question,
the show is only an hour long. We can't address all of his issues.
why did you decide to run again? And is your wife okay with that?
That's a key. She's a key part of the team, certainly. But yes, we were really never hesitant about serving again. I mean, to me, this is a calling. First of all, thanks for all the kind people that came out. A lot of Hoosiers here this morning, and some Badgers as well, because I've got some Badger history as well, Wisconsin history. So there was a period kind of right before season where we were, of course, we were, our condo was heavily damaged after the storm, and we were here for the storm, and we experienced all that excitement. And so, but we eventually had to rent a place. We started on Mango, one of the first condos that opened on Mango at the end of Mango Street. And then they sold that unit. So we rented a place on Tropical Shores Way. And it was getting close to this coming season. And of course, rents go up dramatically for season, and in our condo building for insurance issues, and we had a contractor issue as well. They didn't even have a date yet as to when they were going to reopen. And of course, the rents were going way up. It's hard to find a place, and we're just trying to figure out where we're going to live. Right. That was really when you were kind of kidding me about it at that time, Ed, and I just didn't know, because we just didn't know where we're going to live. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people are in that situation. And again, we're very blessed in the sense that we, at least, our condo during the storm was on the 9th floor. So we didn't have the destruction that many people had, at least in terms of our personal possessions, but certainly the building was severely damaged. And so anyway, we just kind of were looking at each other, and we said, we got to do something. So we started looking to see if we could sell our unit, and we ended up selling our unit, which is on the Gulf side. And we bought a place back in Bay Beach Lane, which is on the Bay side. And we were fortunate enough to be able to sell and we found a wonderful place that's up and running. And so once we kind of got our personal lives together in terms of having a place to live, then of course, then everything else kind of fell nicely into place. So
have you ever had a tooth pulled?
I have had a tooth pulled. In fact, I hate the dentist as well. So I have great empathy for you in the whole exercise, especially when the concept when you were describing the needle coming towards your face.
Yes.
You just need to close your eyes.
Did you almost pass out, or were you?
I'm a big fan of closing my eyes.
Yes.
And I'll grip something and inflict pain on my hand to distract
yourself.
Distract.
I grabbed something too, but I don't think the nurse appreciated it when I. Just kidding. Just kidding. I didn't do that. I'm not a pervert. Like your dentist apparently is a pervert. She said the dentist, when she had, apparently everybody in the world's gotten a tooth pulled. I didn't know it was such a popular thing, but the dentist took his knee and got up on the chair to pull it out. I mean, I would think that dentist needs to be investigated for something. I mean, the guy was standing right there. He didn't need to get up. If that dentist got up on my chair, that would have been holy hell right there. I mean, that would have been weird.
Those dental stories, everybody's got one. And they're just, it's like airplane, when people have a bad flight, those are stories you just don't want to dwell on.
So stay on topic, please, Jim.
You're so easily distracted.
I know. Come on, Jim. So can we talk? No, you're not directing this interview, sir.
No, but I'm going to stay on the first question in terms of the reelection. So once we had a piece about where we were going to live, and we were very blessed to find a wonderful place to live, and so Brenda and I, we prayed about it. We've had this calling for public service. Brenda is very, very patient with me, very supportive through the whole thing. And so we are putting ourselves up for reelection, I consider us, because we're a team together. It's been an interesting 4.5 years. I think my professional background post Ian has been really helpful to me in terms of some of the challenges we've had to address. I was a state insurance commissioner for 4 years, and I was chair of the Utility Regulatory Commission, and I was chief of staff to the governor. I worked for a member of Congress for a number of years, both out in D.C. and in Indiana, and all that stuff, interestingly. And even when we moved here, I volunteered to serve on the LPA and was on my condo board. All that experience has really been a blessing as we've had to address some of the massive variety of challenges that we've had. And it's been great to work with a mayor who has a completely different background, who has more of a builder background, which is perfect for rebuilding this island. And my other colleagues on the council, I think we have a great team. Mm-hmm. We get along well.
Mm-hmm.
We're not always going to vote the same or agree on everything, but we have a kind of a unity of purpose, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a lot of legislative bodies today, both in Washington and just a lot of dysfunction. And, and I know people are going to disagree with certain things we do and how we vote, but at least we have there's a civility that I think is really important. And there's a unity of purpose that I think is really
nice about yes.
This is going to be tough with you two. I'm probably going to put the microphone down.
If you put his microphone down, that's going to be funny. Go ahead.
No, when you were saying in your previous experience with insurance, what do you think? What can you make I know it's a big topic, but in a couple sentences of what this area has gone through with the fight with insurance companies? And
I think the whole system completely broke down. I think my faith, as somebody who's been heavily involved in the insurance industry as a regulator, to see what these insurance companies, and I don't say everyone, there's been some good actors out there, but there's been a significant number of really bad actors, what they've gotten away with, the fact that people have to hire a public adjuster just to be heard, the fact that they have to hire attorneys just to have their case be adjudicated fairly. These are legal contracts. People paid their premiums on time. Ed said that a lot. They paid their premiums a lot or on time, and they're significant premiums. And all they want is they expect their contract to be fully satisfied in good faith. And so what people have gone through on this island. And then we've had, I was helpful in working with the CFO and the state insurance commissioner to have an insurance village on the island, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an interesting dilemma because these insurance companies would come down and the regulator was like right over the shoulder. It turned out to be a great event for our island because these insurance companies were writing checks. But why should it have to
why should it take
where a regulator overlooking, looking over their shoulder, and to them to write a check that they're supposed to do contractually anyways. And so my concern going forward is, and I understand it, is that people are just going to decide to go bare and not have insurance for those who can. People with mortgages don't have that luxury.
Right.
But that could work. And as long as you self-insure, if you take those premiums and set them aside in your own special sort of a pre-funded loss reserve fund, you set that money aside. If you have the discipline and the wherewithal to do that, that's great. And those first couple of years, a lot of risk. But imagine if a storm comes 3-4 years from now and you've built up a nice fund. There's no deductible. You can get paid right away because it's your own money. Nobody's questioning it. Nobody's dragging it out. You don't have to hire. I mean, even the people that are successful with their insurance companies, they've had to pay a public adjuster part of it. They've had to pay their attorney's fee part of it. So, I mean, the whole system is just flawed.
Suing that there were changes that are going to make it much harder
in the future,
to do that in the future.
Those don't affect Ian folks, but going forward, it will be more challenging. And quite frankly, there was some problem from the trial lawyers as well with some of the roofing scandals and some of the other issues. Some of that's been cleaned up by the legislature in a good way. So hopefully that'll help bring premiums down in the long run. We're in a very hard insurance market right now. So premiums are extremely high for residents, for businesses, and for condos. The condos are seeing 50% to 100% increase in their premiums, which coupled with all the other challenges that they have, it's a huge burden for the folks on our island. And that would actually be tolerable if you were getting your claims paid in a fair and legitimate and honest way. And that's the double insult, I think, to the system. But
how fast is your mile right now?
Well, of course, the Mother's Day run is coming up. And this is not the date. What is the date, Ed?
It's May 11th.
I don't want to confuse folks.
Yes, it's coming up next month. It's like a month away, less than a month away.
Oh, geez, that's right.
Saturday before Mother's Day.
And for folks, I just want to say, because I don't think you say it enough, is that it's not just a run. We have a lot of walkers.
Yes.
And it's so cool to walk and run along the beach, and virtual, which is great. And
but back to the question.
You're going to come in third again?
And this was the beneficiary is the women's club again. Is that correct?
No, it's not. You're not paying attention to anything. Yes, it is the women's club.
I was going to say this was.
You're right.
So I've had some back issues the last couple of weeks.
Out loud.
So I'm sure my time's going to be a little bit off as the defending champion of my age group from last year. I don't have any expectations.
Are you sore from pickleball? Is that why your back hurts?
I'm sore from life. I mean, I'll be 62 this year, and I'm just 62.
Sore. Wow, you look great for 62.
Well, I'm hanging in there. Yeah.
So let's get right to the meat of the mooring field. The mooring field issue came up last week, and it was so nice to see your finance director actually lay numbers out for the mooring field, which has never, ever been done. As far as I've been covering the town, the last town manager never put that out. Of course, there wasn't a finance manager before. And then Joe puts those numbers up on the screen, and everybody, including the committee, could finally see it. In the committee, I'm not blaming the committee in any way. They asked for those numbers from the previous town manager, and it seemed like they never got it. Do you think the residents, the tax-paying residents of Fort Myers Beach, should subsidize the mooring field?
No, hard no. So, but it's a little bit more complicated than that in the sense that the Anchorage Advisory Committee, you had Sam on last week, who was a great guest, by the way. And Sam has been on the committee for, I think, 8 to 10 years, something like that. They've been desperately trying to get these numbers. And I don't even think that the previous folks even isolated those numbers from an accounting standpoint. I don't even know if they had those numbers. But the principle of the mooring field is to have it be self-sufficient. And the numbers that were put forth are a little difficult to follow because obviously we had Ian and we had COVID.
Sure.
But there was a year that it was profitable.
Right.
And if memory serves me, the council actually adjusted the rates pretty significantly before that year.
By $100. Yep.
Yeah. And so I think they were beginning to fall in line appropriately. It was long overdue. But so the rates, once things get up and going again, they should balance what the costs are. A lot of the capital costs, which are in addition to that, we can get grants. There's a number of state and federal entities that give the mooring field grants. And people say, why do we have this mooring field? And quite honestly, I asked the same question when I first got on the council, because it seemed to, I don't have a lot of boating background, but I just was fascinated by why the town is involved in this business. And I was told by a lot of smart people who said that, prior to the mooring field, you had this kind of wild, wild west out there of boats, and many of them were just dumping their sewage into the bay.
Okay.
And if you are part of a mooring field process, you get benefits to be part of it. But one of the requirements is that you have to use the pumping service of the town to pump out that boat. And so it really did help clean up the bay. We have a lot of clean water challenges separate from all this, but we did not.
We don't need to add that.
We didn't need to add
Jim,
people. Yeah.
I there's no debate over how the mooring field works. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody argues with the mooring field works, but these people are rebuilding their homes and every penny counts. Why should they subsidize?
No, but
I mean, I
He
know,
just
but why?
said no.
Why? But you've been asking the town staff for years to get this to break even. Why haven't they been able to?
Well, I think we are going to break even once the mooring field's operational again fully. I think the numbers are going to come into place, and if not, then we do need to raise rates more. We have a very popular mooring field.
Yes.
It's one of the most popular in the area. We
I
get
agree.
great reviews, and so once it gets full again, we need to crunch those numbers. And if they don't balance, we should raise the fees more. It absolutely should balance. I don't think anybody disagrees with it. We just finally got this information.
Yes.
And we need to have it be clean information, because post-Ian, it's going to
Right.
everything's it's going to normalize a bit. And I do think the secondary advantages for the mooring field is, first of all, it's a lot safer to anchor to a mooring ball than to put your own anchor down. And then lastly, there is an economic development benefit in terms of folks, without adding to our traffic woes, can park here and utilize all of our restaurants and shops and services and so forth. And they're spending money on the island, and in return they pay a fee. They get to use the shower facilities over at Matanzas. The new director of Matanzas was over the other day. It was
Yes.
great. And they have laundry facilities and so forth. So it's a symbiotic relationship that seems to work pretty well. But you're right; it has to be priced appropriately so the islanders are not subsidizing it. I don't think anybody disagrees with it.
$400,000 in a budget for 77 people.
Well, it'll be that number will be higher with the expansion of the mooring field.
89 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but the numbers do work.
I mean, as long as they work, I think that I just don't. There's no benefit to the mooring field
When
to
you-
taxpayers.
But
None.
when you
Zero.
look at the numbers,
There's benefit to the businesses for sure.
Well, you say benefit, but if people aren't dumping raw sewage into the bay, there's a
Okay.
benefit to the
Right,
island.
right.
And
I
when
know
you-
we were arguing about this last night. I know you were, because I
Well,
don't want
just think-
taxpayers to pay for anything they don't have to.
I think the other thing is
They
not
pay for
just
too much
looking-
already.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, but it's not just looking at raising the rates, because they're at least what they said in the meeting and the little bit of research I did looking around at some other mooring fields. I mean, the price is right in
Yeah.
what other places are charging. So
and we've got some room.
Raising it
We've
up.
got some room to come up a little bit if we need to.
as long as but the services have to be there.
Right, you gotta
like-
have, and that's one of the things that we're talking about is to have, originally when I first came on the council, they're going to put the mooring facilities or the
Right.
upland facilities right there in Bayside
Can you
Park.
imagine that? There
Which
would be
was-
a 3-story building right here, not only blocking the view, but there'd be no park.
Well, but
Right.
but the people spoke,
Yes.
and unfortunately the council listened,
Yes.
and that was really, I mean, that's a beautiful park there now.
Right.
And that's really, we have very little access to the bay. We got a lot of access to the Gulf.
Yeah.
But so it's so important that gets preserved. But now we're talking with the county to see if maybe Bowditch Park, which already has restrooms, but maybe put some the shower and as well as the laundry facilities there. Maybe we could store our pumping boat there, and maybe some of the towns, the boats that they utilize. I mean, and that would be again, that's a not-for-profit entity with partnering with the county. There's a dock over there by Bowditch, which is being repaired right now. So, I mean, there could be a situation where everybody wins for a pretty low, for a much smaller price point. We have to rent from Matanzas. They've given us a variable rate, a reasonable rate. But if we could just partner with our county friends on county land, that could really save a lot of
and
money.
then what? Put services down there, or
Yeah.
keep them here? Oh, so put
Services
everything down.
still have the dinghy dock here because people want to come where the action
Right,
is.
right.
But in terms of showering and using laundry, they're
Mhm.
okay with going to Bowditch.
Jim, well-
No, because at one point they were talking about putting them on town property somewhere.
Yeah,
Is
let's
that-
talk about that.
Yeah, we're
Jim,
done.
will
We're,
you
we're
say-
done with it. Yeah.
Will you say
done with that?
loud and clear that there's never going to be an upland facility on Tropical Shores Way?
Here's what I will say: I will never support any kind of uplands facility or any other, quite frankly, a mooring field related facilities on Tropical Shores Way or inside any other neighborhood, because we just don't have to do that. We have other options, and they're better options.
Yeah. And so, okay, the final question about the mooring field is the town, if the town builds an upland facility building, who pays for that?
Well, again, if we can partner with the county, they're already building it at Bowditch because they've got really nice restroom facilities there. So hopefully we can
And they
partner
have
with
showers.
them. Yeah, and we may get some FEMA money to help, to offset some of those costs based upon.
Sorry, we don't
the
use that
destruction.
word on the show.
I know.
Nobody likes to hear that word.
I understand.
It's a 4-letter word on the show. So, I mean, it's so funny. I was talking to some folks before. We talk about FEMA, we talk about the insurance, and that gets some feedback. But you talk about bikes, and it's through the roof.
Well,
let me ask the question. Let me ask the
only
question.
you can identify
Can
the
I
most
ask
controversial issue on the island.
One
but
last question about the mooring field.
Okay, go right ahead.
So when you're looking at the numbers, because years ago I went through my notes, and it was a little muddy when you were looking at the staffing of it and who's paying for the staff, because some of those staff people were doing dual functions. So it isn't really fair to say, well, these people are getting paid and this is all mooring field if they're also doing some other town.
That's absolutely true, Kim. I mean, it's just it's you have to have honest accounting. I see one of our Anchorage Advisory Committee members over here right now, and we're all learning this together. But you have to have an accurate accounting. We finally have. I shouldn't say finally. We have a finance director now. If I should say finally,
finally you do. Yes,
and he's great.
And he's not the most dynamic fella, but he's very smart and he's very honest. He has tremendous integrity, and I think he will. I didn't
say that, he did.
I think he will delineate how those costs break down. But you're right. Same with Mound House and with Bay Oaks. Some of those staff serve multiple purposes. Some of our public works people do a wide variety of things. So you have to account for it appropriately. And again, poor Joe, who came into just a wild situation.
I mean, to look at the 1 year, it was like double. The salary was just jumped.
And you're going to get a new
and that just
harbor
seemed like
master,
a
and I'm
lot.
guessing he's going to get paid more than Austin was.
I don't know I know they're in negotiations right now. They have a candidate identified who apparently has tremendous credentials. And they're in the negotiations phase now. So hopefully we'll hear something next week on that front.
By the way, anybody in this audience can ask questions. And if you're watching on the Facebook, you can ask questions of the vice mayor. That's okay. On to the biking thing, because everybody loves to talk about biking. And I came up with the solution. Well, I didn't. Everybody came up with the solution. The solution seems to be the biggest problem for bikers is between Times Square and Red Coconut.
I watched your video this morning.
You can get from Red Coconut to the bridge in the bike lane. You're still going to deal with drivers that are distracted. They're on their phone. They're trying to look and see the beach, and but that's a death trap right there. That ride right there. And the town council keeps saying they want to be more biker friendly. They want to be more bike friendly, but they've never ever done anything past saying that phrase. How are you going to change it?
All right, let me take on a couple of things. First of all, to the mayor's credit, the mayor, in partnership with the Public Safety Advisory Committee, came up with, and this isn't going to solve the world, but it's a first step. Yes, we say we haven't done anything, but I think what the mayor suggested was, and the Public Safety Committee was, let's get the bike lane more noticeable. So they painted it green on the north end of the island, which is one part of Estero Boulevard that we control as a town, where we've been encouraging the county to partner with us. People got to remember, this is a county road, and the county controls the sidewalks. They're the ones who designed that project. So it's a challenge. But I do think identifying the bike lane, putting that green markings, and a lot of folks have called. I've watched all the social media posts on your site. I get contacted a lot myself. The concept of a ripple strip. And I guess this doesn't solve the Red Coconut to Times Square issue, but just when somebody wanders into the bike lane and they hit that ripple strip, at least they'd be aware of it. These are little things. They're going to solve the world. Just like the traffic problem. There's not one issue that's going to solve it.
But you're not putting a ripple strip between Times Square and Red Coconut.
No.
That's the trouble spot. I think
but
everybody would agree.
Your question
but nobody cares about the north end of the bike lanes.
Nothing has been done.
It's okay.
It's not a biker-friendly island.
The
north end is, and the south end is because you have a big bike lane.
Well, I watched your show yesterday, and you had 5 people have 5 different solutions. So, I mean, it's, as you know, it's a complicated issue.
For sure.
So having said that, I think in that area, you talked about, and some of your listeners talked about having a boardwalk along the ocean. And that seems idyllic in a perfect world, but we've got private property rights. We've got FEMA regulations. We've got a lot of challenges, certainly worth looking at. But we also have some options on the other side.
A boardwalk has been built in this town, so
that's a no.
I know, but
but on the other side of the island, on the bay side, there's some interesting ideas that have been bandied about over the years. From Connecticut Street, there's a way to go back on the backside, on the bay side, through some of those streets back there. And then you hit the Red Coconut. And I've talked to the new owners of the Red Coconut. They are more than willing to consider a bike path behind the Red Coconut. And then you could carry that all the way
That's
down.
public benefit.
It's a great public benefit, and it's an easy gift for them. And then you get over to the Seagrape Plaza, and there's ways to get through there. Then you could really get over to Bay Oaks. And I was just kind of looking at yesterday as we're driving through, and possibly even get over to Fairweather. Again, you still have some challenges in that one area from Fairweather then to Times Square. And you look at me like, oh gosh, what's the answer? Well, there is no easy answer, but here's my, as I'm listening to all the comments, I'm still listening. I am concerned from a safety standpoint about the electric bikes and bikes in general on the sidewalk, but bikes in general are allowed on the sidewalks if they yield appropriately to pedestrians. The solution is, now I was watching your video this morning. You're griping about all this stuff as you're going on your bike, but as you were riding your bike, the whole time you rode, you passed 2 pedestrians on your right. I don't know if you noticed that. Only 2. The sidewalk was bare and vacant. So I guess if there's a way to legislate this, and I don't know if there is, but if we could.
Matt Thornton for what? What's he running for? District 3.
I don't recognize the name.
Is that our district? Is our District 3? Matt Thornton. Never heard of him.
But I don't know if you could legislate common courtesy. Here's the solution. Here's a potential solution.
Let him finish.
So if somebody's on the sidewalk, bike or electric bike, and they're required by ordinance to, when passing a pedestrian, stop and walk their bike around while passing.
Common sense is what that is. I mean, but a lot of people don't have it.
A lot of people don't do that. And that's why the walkers are terrified. But if we could figure out a way just to have, because our sidewalks are underutilized.
But Jim, today wasn't really a fair.
I agree. But wait till we're out of season; it's empty.
Right.
I mean, the side. I've ridden from the south, from Bowditch to the south end of the island, and never hit a pedestrian. Or not,
how many?
never come across the pedestrian the whole time.
Nor has he ever hit one.
So and the sidewalks are gorgeous. We got these beautiful.
So we're
new
talking about
sidewalks.
In season is when the issue is,
and that's why I see it during season. Maybe we have a situation where if we could legislate that people on bikes in general, electric or otherwise, are required to stop and when passing and walk around the people and then move on. And I've talked to the sheriff's department. I don't want to quote anybody, but somebody who's been on the island for many years who has a lot of experience. People talk about speed limits for bikes. He says that you can't enforce it.
Right.
Their equipment is sensitive to cars. Really doesn't work for bikes. Extremely difficult to chase a speeding
I asked
bike
that question yesterday
when you're in traffic. You know, I mean, these poor officers.
Well, and it's a lot easier if you're eyeballing it. That you can see somebody get off their bike and go around somebody or not, but you can't really go, oh, that looks like 11 miles per hour. Maybe it's 12.
And there's some other issues. You guys talked about some other interesting ideas. You know, one side for bikes, one side for walkers. But then you've got this concept where people are going to be crossing the street all the time, slowing the traffic flow down. So I want to see more pedestrian overpasses. I want to see, but if we could just have some. And again, the challenge, of course, is how do you legislate common courtesy? But if bikes were required to stop when passing a pedestrian, everybody's cool. The pedestrians aren't alarmed or in danger. And then we utilize these sidewalks better because they really are underutilized.
So when I was doing the short video this morning, she gets so mad at me when I get on the bike and I roll my video. She goes, "Can't you just let me have one thing where you don't do it?" I'm like, well, you're not going to ride dangerously because she can't. She's not good at biking. She has to be on the sidewalk. And
I ride fine.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay, yeah. Listen, what is that scar above your eye right there?
Well,
that's you riding fine.
But this person fell off his bike while stopped at a red light. Not once, more than once, because he couldn't get his feet out of the little clippy things, and so he just
that's a funny
over.
Story. So I was at the intersection of Tree Line and Daniels, like one of the busiest intersections, and I had just bought these clip-ins because everybody says you have to have the clip-ins; they'll make you go faster. And so I stop. I'm at a dead stop, and I'm like, "Oh shit! How do you get out of these things?" And I just went like this. Whoop. Right in the middle of the intersection. And I sent the clips back. I've never worn them since because it's the dumbest thing. I mean, who wants to go faster? Go faster, pedal faster, and go faster.
Now, and in your video this morning, too, it was an interesting example you gave because you stayed to the side of the road. I think the county envisioned you to be in the road as a bike. Not to say that that's much safer. I think they want you to be in the middle of the road riding
to force people.
Jim, when I was doing the video this morning, if you saw in the other direction, there was an e-biker on the
I saw it,
sidewalk going
yeah.
like 30 miles an hour.
Well, I
Okay,
don't know about
Mr.
30,
He was
but yeah.
on the sidewalk. I mean, he was going too
I don't know about
fast.
30 miles
He
an
was
hour. but,
going 130
but it was
miles an
too
hour.
fast,
He's
yeah,
going
yeah.
too fast. It doesn't. He should have just been in the road. He would have been going almost as fast as the cars.
The other
He
challenge we
doesn't
have,
want to be in the road either.
yeah, the other challenge we have as an island and is that, we as residents of this island could figure this out, and we could create a sort of a protocol, if you will, where people are kind and considerate to each other, and we could work this out. But we have this, not that the tourists aren't kind and considerate, but they just don't know our rules. So we
Right.
get all these people coming here who don't know how things. We could solve some of that with signage. I've been trying for months to get people to use the overpass at Margaritaville.
Every
instead of
meeting, you
crossing
say
at
the
crossway.
same thing about the overpass.
And then I see my favorite talk show hosts illegally crossing the road, not using the overpass during the shrimp festival, and I'm just like, who is this guy?
There was no traffic. Their bridge was closed. So, Jim, lastly, on the bike thing, why can't the town? Okay, at the county's park here. What's the name of this park here? I always forget
Lynn
the name.
Hall?
No, the park. The
Crescent.
Crescent.
So you start a path out to Crescent, a bike path. You make a left turn. Margaritaville, you got the big hotel there. I mean, why not create some kind of cement sidewalk and then say no biking at all on Estero Boulevard from Red Coconut? Then you exit Red Coconut to the bike lane, and that's their public benefit on the beach side.
I'm not opposed to exploring that option, but you've got significant hotels,
Yes.
homeowners, businesses who have beachfront property.
Eminent domain them all.
Okay, that's always a eminent domain. Usually makes people's hair on the back of their head stand up. But I mean, we also have to make sure it works with FEMA. I'm not saying no, but it's worth looking at, because I love the concept of a boardwalk, especially in that challenging area. But I just, once the lawyers get involved,
Okay.
I mean, it could
So,
be very
but you
challenging.
put the
Yeah.
solution on the table, and then the people on the beach say no thanks, and then we'll say, well, we tried that. At least we
Right.
tried that, and
I
you
think-
didn't want to be part of the solution.
I don't think we shouldn't try. I think it's certainly worth exploring.
Who would want a boardwalk, like a walkable and bikeable
Dear,
boardwalk
it
on the
There
beach?
were people that didn't want sand put behind their house. You
That's a
think
great,
they're
Kim. That's
go-
a great point. Yeah. Ring the bell for that one. Yeah.
Thank you.
We couldn't even get an emergency berm. in
Wasn't
many
that
of these-
good?
Yeah, that
You
was
couldn't
really
get
good
a
actually. Yeah.
berm. You think they're going to allow people to just be biking?
I think
No.
people wish they got the berm at this point,
We when I was living
especially in that spot.
and I was living in Indianapolis, we had an old railroad trail that they wanted to turn into a pedestrian bike trail, and the people were all opposed on the Monon Trail. Everybody in Indianapolis knows it's a great trail, but initially everybody was opposed to it. Then once it got instituted, first of all, it allowed people to go along there, so it sort of self-policed itself. But it also the property values, the property values of those people along that trail, all were increased demonstrably. So it can work, but again, we've got to get buy-in from the owners of those properties on the beach. I mean, we got some significant owners in that area.
Yeah, but you have more people walking by or biking by
Yeah.
your business.
I think it's cool. I mean, I'm just telling
Well,
you, these
put it
things,
on the table, damn
nothing's
it.
easy. I mean, in this town, I mean, there's
Crying
a
out
lot
loud.
of challenges.
It's a great idea. Get
Yeah.
people off of Estero Boulevard.
But
Less people crossing the road.
But I can
less-
tell you, and with Kim's example, there were people in that group who have refused the
I know,
beach
you're
scene.
right.
Anything.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Well,
challenging.
then stop saying you want to be a more bikeable island.
Well, but again,
Because
But
you're
they
just saying
wanted to
it.
be
You're
a
just saying
bikeable
it.
island.
They
But
do.
Ed-
Everybody does.
and you're riding your bike on this dangerous situation, and the sidewalk
Yes.
is wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, so we got to be able to
Well-
figure this out. We're not utilizing
Well,
the
and the
sidewalks very
county
well.
has to fill in. There's 2 spots.
Yeah.
That goes without saying.
Yeah.
Because
So
you
Jen,
can really go down there.
Dan said he wanted to open the ordinance to have e-bikes on the sidewalk. What's your vote on that? E-bikes on the sidewalk?
Well,
Yes or no?
If we have the proviso of stopping when passing, I would be open to it.
Okay.
I just think we have to couple it with some safety and common courtesy sort of provisos to make
Yeah.
it work.
Gotcha.
If e-bikes are on, do they have to be off though? You have to
I
be
think they
just
should be
pedaling.
off.
That's
I think
fine.
they should be off.
One of your readers suggested geofencing the rental bikes, so they would literally shut the motor off when they go on a sidewalk. Apparently, the technology is there. I don't know. It's way above.
Yeah,
It's an
no,
AI
it's like
thing.
a low jack.
Yeah.
I went to rent a car one time from a place and I was like, yeah, I'm going. Oh, it was when the first eclipse was going on. And I'm like, yeah, I'm driving right now up to South Carolina. And she goes, oh, no, you're not. Because once you get out of Florida, that car's going to shut down.
Wow,
Yeah.
crazy. I
Yeah.
think the sheriff's department should be able to tase anyone that goes over a certain mile
Oh, there
per
we
hour.
go.
I mean, Come on, Marcino. I'm going to ask Marcino that when he comes on the show.
I would. Again, some of his team have been on this island for a long time, and to bounce some of these solutions off them is always very helpful because they have to enforce it. Maybe not that one. Yeah.
I'll ask the sheriff that. Is it? I mean,
I think
absolutely
it would
ask that question.
Easier for them to enforce what you were saying. Like it's easy to see
if you're
people
seeing,
not get off.
if you see a bike that doesn't stop when passing a pedestrian, that to me
Yeah.
seems easy to enforce.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I told this story yesterday, so I'm not going to tell the whole story. But yesterday, when I was making it last Sunday, when I left the show, I was making the turn into Gulf Coast, and this guy got behind me in a pickup truck and just laid on the horn. Like he didn't beep, he laid on the horn because he hates bikers. And some car people just hate the fact that bikes are in the road. And
you're never going to fix.
We were driving by somebody today who was honking at a fellow car who wasn't going fast enough over the speed limit for them. I mean, everybody's got to chill out a little bit
on the beach. You need to chill out on the beach.
If I could digress just a second on
Please
the bike thing, because this will start up a whole
No, you never do that.
It'll open up another can of worms. But one of the things Brent and I do, we have traditional bikes that have beach tires with no speeds. They got the safety brake, like you had when you were a kid.
They used them in a triathlon that we
but
did.
They work really well.
And he got a flat in the race, by the way.
Every Saturday, we will ride down from the very south end to Bowditch Point, and we ride on the beach, and we check the tide. When the tide is low on this island, it's like a really nice road out there.
Yeah.
And you can stay away from the pedestrians, stay away from the birds, stay away from the kids, ride safely, but you can really have a beautiful ride and back. And we don't see many bikes out there, but we do have, the electric bikes are not on the beach. And I understand.
You think they should be allowed on the beach?
We have to have the same proviso. You've got to make, when pedestrians are walking on the beach, they want to be able to relax. And so when you get some bikes zipping by them, and when I first got on the island, I zipped too closely to somebody and they barked at me, and rightfully so. I didn't quite figure it out. Now when we pass somebody, we go at least 10, 15 feet. The beach is wide enough to do that. Just stay away from folks and respect
anybody
people.
that knows how to bike or has been, I shouldn't say that's been biking for a long time, knows that if you come up on a pedestrian, you yell, coming to your left, coming to your left, coming to your left, so they hear you loud enough.
Some of these folks go at 10 miles an hour on your left, and they scream at everybody like freaks out.
Well,
that's why stopping, it slows you a little bit down, but there's not, it's a way to do it.
No, I think definitely stopping in that area, because I try to give people lots of warning, and I'm like, I said it so that I wouldn't scare you, and I still, especially if somebody's got headphones in and they're jumping, or God forbid they're walking an animal, you just don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, I would like it to be a more bikeable island. I don't know that there's ever going to be a solution, though. I mean, it's so challenging. It really is.
It isn't that challenging if people are just, I think
you should run for office then. All right, let's move on. Enough about the biking. So the Moss Marina thing came up to the LPA last week, and it really wasn't a project. It was a map amendment change, which is kind of a technical thing, but he needed the map amendment changed in order to move forward. And the LPA voted 5-2 not to change the map amendment. And Ben hasn't said whether he's coming to the council, but he can just bypass the LPA and say that he would like the council to vote on the map amendment change. So let's say, just for hypothetical discussion, just between us kids here, that Ben decides that he's going to take his map amendment change to the council. What is your vote?
Well, just so you don't think I'm dodging. I do want to explain my vote, but my vote would be no, because when I think Ben Freeland, again, an honorable family on this island, I think what they tried to do is decouple their request from their CPD request, which is their development idea, their vision for the development on that island. Try to decouple the two. I don't think you can. I know procedurally the zoning change has to happen before the CPD, but there has to be a way to bundle them together. Maybe you do one in the morning, one in the afternoon. In other words, we need to see what his vision is for that development before we see that kind of zoning authority. So, the elephant in the room on this one, it just based upon my conversations with people on the island, all the social media posts, is that most folks, there are people that are hardcore for, hardcore against, but most folks are like, hey, that's a cool location. That's a cool vision. We're opening up the bay to a lot more, bayfront to a lot more folks, but it's just too much. And so we've got to find.
You think it's too much?
I think it is too much.
Okay.
I mean, you look at Old San Carlos Island here, or this road here. You've got public parking on both sides, and what's going to happen if that project goes forward? Now, I think it could work if it's down. There's our fire commissioner, Ron Fleming. If it's downsized a little bit, you're going to see Old San Carlos. All these businesses are going to be energized, and this is going to be a hot corridor, which is great up to a point. But can this road accommodate all that traffic? Can that the foot of the bridge area accommodate it? We've not seen any traffic studies. We've not seen any data. I'm just saying right now that looks like it's too much.
Okay.
And they need to scale back. And if they scale back in conjunction with their rezoning ask, I think they'd have a lot better opportunity.
But Ben says he needs that project as it is right now in order for him to make the investment work.
But London
wait.
No, it's a good question. Yeah.
Do you believe it?
He's a businessman. Nobody gets everything they want on the first gas. There's always a negotiation that has to occur. And if he chooses to have it go back to Marina, unless because he wants everything or nothing, and I don't think that's what he said thus far, but I can't imagine there's not a compromise in there somewhere. And we've got to find that middle ground. Where that middle ground is, that's where we have to get more of the granular data to see how it all is going to play out. But I think it's too much right now.
Do you think your fellow council members, just shooting the breeze here, would it pass or not pass?
That's another great question. I honestly don't know. It would be close.
Okay. So there are other projects going on that everybody here wants to know about.
And by the way, I'm okay with, I like Mas Marina's concept. I just think it's just too much.
Right. It's too big.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 hotels or 1 I mean, it's 3 hotels, 2 hotels, one.
It's 3, yeah. What is it? But that's where we got to see the traffic data. We got to see what they're pitching. We got to see what their proposal is.
So
I want them to be successful.
It's just too many rooms.
And it's also brand new. It's not it's not like the Outrigger that's replacing something, or the Neptune or the Wyndham. And they're replacing an existing, or the Cottage or the Whale. They're replacing an existing icon on the island. It's brand new, which doesn't necessarily be bad, but it's addition, not replacement. And so there's a little bit more sensitivity.
It's not replacement over there, but it might replace some of the small mom and pops that might not be able to return.
Right. And some of those mom and pops are in areas that aren't quite traffic sensitive. I mean, this isn't a traffic sensitive.
But just from a numbers thing.
True. Yeah. From a hotel room standpoint, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, I'm a zealot on this. I think there's a compromise there somewhere in the middle.
I'm going to have to Google zealot when we get home later. Not sure what that is. Outrigger.
Like when
Outrigger is now standing tall at 17 stories. Are you a yes or no on that?
Yeah. Let me just say this, Ed. You say 17 stories like the whole development is 17 stories. It's not. It's one piece of the puzzle is 17 stories, and even that one piece.
Nobody's believing a word you're saying right now.
Well, it's true. I mean, look at their proposal. You know that. I mean, it's just one piece. It's the residential piece is 17 stories, and even that piece is not fully 17 stories. One is 17. One part of it is 17. One's 15, and one's 13.
Okay.
And I just talked to the owner the other day, and he said, "Hey, listen, if people want me to bring that down, it's done for architectural reasons, so it just looks more appealing." And to have a little bit more make it more architecturally interesting. So if they want to bring that down and make it look like another block building, I mean, they're happy to talk about that. But most of the development isn't 17 stories. That's not fair. And second of all, I think you've got a situation where you've got a major restaurant on the main floor. You've got a restaurant bar on the roof. You've got a grab and go breakfast and lunch place. You've got a potential tiki bar. By the way, he's hearing good information on the tiki bar working out well. So my point is, you've got so many public amenities there with that Outrigger replacing an icon on this island, and there's tremendous. You have to finance that, and you've got to figure out. You got to make it work economically. So I still think they need to listen to the neighbors who live in that neighborhood. But keep in mind, that's right across from the new town hall. There's no residential properties across the street, so it's not blocking anybody's view. And the south end right now desperately needs activity.
Okay, so let me rephrase.
I like the proposal. Yeah, but
as it is presented now to the community, would you vote yes or no?
Well, I probably would vote yes, but I'd also want them to modify it based upon
the
input of the community.
You guys going to change your vote for him in November?
All right, Ed, yeah.
I mean, they're shaking their head no. They're shaking their head no.
There'll be some of that, but I'm just saying what the South End is a ghost town right now.
True, but that's 5 years away anyway. Even if they get
5 years away, but it'll be
how
faster.
many years?
Yeah, it'll be 3.5 if they do it right. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's still a long way away. But we've got to start sometime.
You're bring up Santini next.
Oh yes.
Yeah. No, I talked to the owner of Santini this last week. That's always a challenge, but he's losing money every day, so he wants to get stuff done. All of the leases are out. He's in negotiations with every single tenant, and sort of the challenge with Santini right now is he needs to find out what his basic foundation is going to be. In other words, he's got an Italian restaurant, a Mexican restaurant. Who's serving breakfast? Do I have a liquor store? By the way, he's got it'll be a different liquor store.
All right, I don't want you to pass over that. The old liquor store owner, I had heard from somebody that he's not coming back, and he's not coming back. But somebody else. I don't know who I never met the owner of the liquor store. I don't drink,
yep,
so
Skipper's liquor.
Lean
Skipper's,
over.
Mr. Skipper.
But
he's not coming back.
But
so.
his challenge
drinking
is
water.
his challenge right now is he's got to find out who's in and who's out definitively. So he has to know who his base clients are, because you don't want 4 black breakfast places, you don't want 6 Mexican places. He's got a really good negotiation going with a hardware store. And then it impacts then how you fill the rest of the spaces, because you don't want to have duplication. So he's trying to get the core businesses in there first, and then figure out exactly how to supplement it. He tells me there's enough interest to fill all those tenants. And his goal will be to be completely full and open by season next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Relax, lady. Come on.
It's going to be a long,
Are you
hot
drinking
summer.
water over there? What's going on over there?
Santini Plaza is a huge piece of the puzzle for the
sure.
South End.
Right.
Is there going to be a food truck in there beforehand, or are we just going to forget about that?
I asked him about that. He said, and I talked to Frankie about that from the town. They're ready to go. The food trucks, I think, are a little less excited about it now that we're getting out of season as they were when we're in season. So, I mean, the food truck thing seems to be fading a bit, but fortunately you could get a Slurpee and a roller burger at the 7-Eleven.
You and the 7-Elevens. So on the Santini Plaza thing, and I don't know if this is true, so hopefully you can clarify this, that the town wants Anita to get a full commercial permit for $4,700 compared to, she didn't send me this, somebody else did, to $1,500 for a remodel. Are you guys requiring those tenants to pay $4,700 full permit for that?
I have been working hand in hand with Anita from day one on this. I've never heard that. I'm not saying it's not true, but she communicates with me on a regular basis and with the owner. She's in really positive negotiations with the owner right now. I've never heard that. I'm sure she'll be the first to call me if there's a problem like that. But the town is trying to find a way to permit all of those tenants in a way that expedites that process. And we'll try to have the same person from the town look at all those permits, so you don't have somebody reinventing the wheel every time a new permit application comes in. And by the way, the permitting department is pretty well caught up right now, so they're really doing well. So, but that cost for her permit, never heard that before.
Okay.
Be happy to help her with that, but I'm sure
it didn't come from her. It came from somebody else that heard it. So I don't know if it's true.
See,
but do you
this
think
is
do you think it's a remodel, or they should pay full permit? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I don't know enough about the nuance of the question, but I think we should do everything we can to help them get back and open in a reasonable way. And if it's, I don't know enough about the issue on this specific issue to give a comment on that. I just don't know.
Okay.
When you were talking about permitting, are you still working with the group
The Jacobs group?
Yes.
Yes.
So will that just continue on even
Yes.
though it's gone down? Okay.
Oh yeah, no question. Well, it's not really gone down. The backlog has gone down,
Okay.
but the requests haven't necessarily gone down. If you look around this island, particularly on the residential side,
Oh,
things
believe
are
me, I was
booming.
down streets
Yeah, I mean,
today.
you guys see it
Yeah.
everywhere. The residential side, and that was what was lagging initially. Now that's really booming. And we're the condos are still wrestling, but they're getting closer. My guess is most of the condos will be open by. I was just talking to some folks this morning that still have some challenges, but they're really close. And a lot of the people I talk to are very close right now. But it's tough. I mean, there's a litany of it. I could get that condo thing is a whole different issue, but they've got some challenges. But they're going to be there. They're going to get there by the end of this year.
So a lot of the times when I watch the town council meetings and you don't say anything or you put your head down, I know you're disagreeing with something, but you're not that kind of person. You're not going to say something negative. You're never going to say something that makes it seem like there's some kind of wedge anywhere. When this 52
Hey, here it comes.
the 52 unsafe structures came up, and it seemed like the town really dropped the ball. The staff really dropped the ball on not red tagging the buildings or the staff. And I love Frankie and I love Andy. And I mean, but there's sometimes you have to still press on things like those 52 structures. The town staff kept telling the council they're red tagging them. They were going to come down. They're coming down in April. Frankie said they're coming down in April. And it just felt like nothing got done.
Well, a couple things. Now, when you say I remain quiet, I'm generally not very quiet, but I see your point. But my colleagues very appropriately expressed their displeasure with the town staff on that. So I didn't really feel the need to pile on because they certainly made their point.
You weren't frustrated by it?
Where I hung my head in frustration and kept my mouth shut just for the good of the order was the recent FEMA action. But I don't want, that's a whole different issue. Did I want to launch on that, and still do, but we're making progress with FEMA. And for the good of the order, I'm going to just keep my mouth shut about FEMA because I share your sentiment towards FEMA, but it's best that I leave that unsaid because the negotiations are going well.
Okay.
We're exchanging
but we're not
data.
talking about FEMA.
Yeah, that issue I just talked.
But that's
I know.
what explains his head drop.
But I talked to Frankie about it, and the building official, who's a great guy. You gotta remember, when FEMA does something like they did, I mean, it's all hands on deck. Everybody stops what they're doing and they're focusing on putting out that fire. And plus, they got 10 other fires going on. These properties need to be cleaned up. Everybody agrees on that. But this is private property, and there is a formal legal procedure that has to be done right. Otherwise, we're just going to it's not going to work well in the court process.
Okay, who dropped the ball then? It seemed.
I just think they were trying to. They went down 2 or 3 different paths to find that right procedural path to work that would hold up in court and that would work. This is kind of brand new ground for some folks. I know other communities have done it, but there's communities around the country with large cities have abandoned properties. Slum lords who disappeared. Every major metropolis in the country struggling with us. So we had to make sure we found a path that works well from the court standpoint, that would stand up in the courts. And they have now figured that out. Could it have been done earlier? Should it have been? Yes. But they're on it. They get it. The council sent a very strong message, I think appropriately so. And then they get it. And they're working. And it starts on Monday. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What starts on Monday?
They're going to start red tagging.
Okay. They still haven't red tagged a single structure.
Well, but you got to remember, Ed, it's not like they're starting from scratch. They know where the properties are now. For the last few months.
So now that they have the procedure, it's going to be bing, bang, boom.
They've identified the properties. They've put the paperwork in place. They have to do the appropriate notification. I mean, people are entitled to due process in America.
Of course they are, but that takes time. That wasn't explained at any of the council meetings.
Yeah.
When the town council is told this was ongoing, this was already being done, and then for all of a sudden nothing was done. I mean, that's the way it played out.
Yeah, it needs to go faster. And by the way, we were talking about properties on the south end. I talked to the owner of the Wyndham. A lot of the neighbors have wondered why that has not been torn down. He is going to secure that property. He also told me that the Wyndham is in serious negotiations with a developer partner, and he hopes to be able to announce that within 60 days. So we should have some good news on the Wyndham / Pinchers. One of the challenges with the Wyndham is, and I've the family that has owned this for quite a while, good family. They've let the town utilize that property for beach renourishment. They let us do a little kind of an emergency room there after the storm, 24/7 emergency room, which was a cool support network for the island after the storm. But the family wants to maintain an interest in that development. And some developers, if they're going to expend that amount of capital, they want complete control. So trying to find a developer that they can partner with and still have an ownership share, and it's been a little bit more complicated, which I think has slowed the development or the progression of the Wyndham. But I think they've got that figured out, and hopefully we'll have some news on that in the next month or two.
Cool. All right. So you had the Wyndham. Any other facilities or things? Santini, we covered that. What do you know about Times Square?
Times Square, I saw a rendering the other day. I don't think it's the final rendering, but it was the
how many renderings are going to have before it's a final rendering? Who's in charge of this whole project?
I think it's a collection of the owners, and we're hoping all owners are part of that group.
Who's the head owner in charge of it?
I don't think they've elected a chief necessarily.
Give us some names. Who's running the show over there?
Well, I know who's running the show, honestly. I mean, but I did see a rendering. And I would just say this:
is Terry Prasad involved?
Absolutely.
Okay, yep. And Brad, is Brad part of that? Brad, who owned
I was at the Roxy at a chamber event,
yes,
speaking to some small business people there, and Terry was there.
Yeah,
and he said, "Do you have a second?" And he pulled me aside and he showed me some of the renderings.
What did you think?
I just want to say, it's a lot.
Yeah, how high did it go?
No offense, if you're saying it's a lot.
Yeah, and he's in pro development. You're saying how high did it go?
Well, I just can't remember if it was 3 or 4. I can't remember. Yeah.
3 or 4
Because I
stories.
just saw
100
pictures.
feet? What?
No, 3 or 4 stories. I can't. Yeah.
And what they're planning on, and they've been very quiet about this. I mean, there was supposed to be an unveiling of the drawings, and they pulled them back. And the neighborhood company, thankfully, the neighborhood company, which is Patrick Van Ness's company, is in charge of that. He gets the island, so it's not going to be crazy. But it sounds to me, your answer, it's crazy.
No, but in fairness to them, I mean, when you think about Times Square and what was there and what needs to be there now based upon FEMA regulations, it's all going to be elevated higher for flood restrictions and so forth. Yeah. So it's naturally stunning to the eye to see more there than what was there. So I don't mean to be unfair, but you asked me what my impression was, and it was a lot.
Because your bottom floor has to be breakaway, right? It can't be anything down there. Then you got the restaurants on the second floor. Then I think he's proposing apartments or some kind of resort at the top, some kind of hotel rooms.
Yeah, I think more on the condo / rental front to get some housing in there.
Was it a lot in your perspective from a height standpoint, or just what?
All of the above.
Yeah, just looked monstrous compared to what it was.
Compared to what it was, and again, they've got certain restrictions they've got to work in.
People understand that it's going to have to be higher,
right? But we didn't get into all the details. You just showed me a couple pictures, and you just asked me what my impression was. I thought it was a lot. Is it too much? I don't know. I don't know what we've got to get some more detail. It wasn't the final rendering.
Like, are you going to need oxygen when you get up to the top floor?
No, but I mean, I just think it's going to be different for people. There's going to be a big adjustment for people, and they're going to see if they like it or not.
I think people have gone through a lot of big adjustments.
But there's a lot of synergy in the concept with utilize sharing elevators and access, and it creates a certain economies of scale, if you will. But it's a lot, and again,
everybody and the things that are on the main street are going to stay at their height. So then you're going to have this.
Yeah, and again, I'm looking at somebody's cell phone. It's really hard to get a sense of things. But you just asked me. I'm always honest.
What do you always?
Try to be.
Okay.
Try to be.
I know he totally is compared to Dan. He's not around, so he's totally honest. What do you know about Red Coconut? What's the delay with Seagate? Why are they taking so long to put something on the table?
I have seen their proposal as well, and the concept for the Red Coconut is it's very interesting because they are entitled to build there. When Red Coconut sold, they had certain a right to build certain things because there was existing property there. So what they've asked for, and they've not formally asked for anything yet, but they're in the process of it. They want to say, listen, we're not asking for any more density here. What we want is just a little more height. So we can build it a little higher, but in return for that, we'll move it back off the road so you don't have that canyon effect that you do on Hickory there going over to Bonita. And you move the Red Coconut back, and not only will they move it back off Estero, but they'll also leave a lot of space right on the Gulf open. Now they're going to build a facility there for their residents, which would have a pool and a little restaurant there. But a lot of that beachfront area will be left open, so you have a nice view corridor
where
there for the
RVs were.
In that area, right. And again, they're open to the bike path concept behind them. And of course, one of the things that excited me was they're open to a pedestrian overpass there. And again, we need more of those to let traffic flow. But I think the Red Coconut concept it's a significant project there, but it's instead of having a whole bunch of smaller homes, you're going to have one pretty good size building. But it looks like it's going to be nice.
You know when that might come to staff?
I would think sooner rather than later, because I think they're looking for a development agreement.
Yeah.
And how that's going to help them, I'm not sure, but we're very close with the development agreement concept. We've been working with the LPA on that, so I think that's a piece of their puzzle that they're maybe waiting on. But they've got some renderings and they're making progress.
What is your grade for the town manager at this point in his tenure here?
I hate this grading thing because it's so inadequate to determine somebody's performance.
He's going to be coming up for a job
I've already
performance in May.
I've already filled out my performance evaluation. I think Andy is doing an excellent job, and I think here's one of the great things about Andy is that can you envision in our prior administration somebody ceding as much authority as they have to Frankie? Because quite honestly, let's think about when we had temporary or interim town managers with Chris and Keith, who were excellent in a very difficult time in our history. And so it was a two-person job at a minimum. Yeah. So Andy, to his credit, has realized that, and he's delegated significant authority to Frankie. So they're tag teaming this thing. I give him so much credit. I mean, Andy's comfortable enough in his own skin. And he's doing that with his staff members as well. He delegates his department heads to take the ball and run with it. Now he oversees it, but he's able to decentralize power. Yeah, he's not a micromanager. He's not a power guy. He's not an ego guy. It's all about just getting the job done. And I think that kind of a servant leadership is the word I like to use. And I think it's so important today in our leaders. And I think we have that with Andy and with Frankie and quite frankly, with our senior team. And he's continuing to build the team. He's bringing in new blood, and it's hard. And we've lost some people we like, but at the same time, some of the people he's bringing in have different, unique skill sets, different life experience. Our public works director is one of the most interesting guys. He also oversees the utilities. He's 68 years old. He's got, I don't know how many years, decades of experience at all levels of public works and utilities. Nicest person you could ever meet. He's out there on weekends. I mean, where do you find people like this?
Yeah.
He's in this not for the money, for the ego. He's in it to give back, and it's kind of cool to see that those kind of people brought onto the team. So I would give him an A.
Okay. So what grade would you give Scott Safford as a new council member? I mean,
as
totally
a tennis player or as a council member? Because he's my tennis partner.
Yeah.
He's mad at me because I haven't been able to play the last couple of months. But
because you're back because of the
I got all
pickleball
kinds of
tournament.
old man illnesses. Yeah. So no, Scott's doing fine. He's doing great. I mean, he's only been on the council for a month or two. So I mean, what are you going to do?
I think he's going to run. I said to him yesterday when we were at 130 Jefferson Street, by the way, which is a lovely house
I saw
that they put together over there. I said, why don't you just tell everyone you're going to run? I mean, because it's not like a ton of stuff has happened so far. You got to get into the meat of things in the next 4 years.
The challenge of running, and I encourage anybody who's interested to run because it's good for democracy. It's a pretty heavy commitment, not just the serving, which is significant. Everybody kind of sees the serving part.
It's the research and stuff.
Well,
that you have
but
to
the
do.
running. I mean, we just filed some of our paperwork on Friday with the Lee County folks, and we have a whole nother round of filing before the filing deadline, which is June 14th. And that includes the new financial disclosure form. You have to fill that in early to submit as a candidate, which is much more intrusive, which I am fine with, by the way. There's hundreds of millions of dollars being poured into our island, and I think people are very cynical and skeptical towards government, understandably so. So the more transparent we could be, I'm fine with that. So, but the point is there's a lot of, and then your campaign reports, you got to raise money, you got to go door to door, you got to do yard signs, you got to do the advertising. And speaking of which, can I put in a plug for my campaign?
Not yet. At the end, for sure. Yeah, we want you to win. You mentioned it before. You're a good friend.
But my point is that when I first expressed interest in running, Dan Allers was the only one running, and there were 3 open council seats. And I thought, well, boy, that's great. I think that seems like a nice situation. I wasn't running against Dan. I was just running for one of the open 3 spots, and I knew he was interested. He would certainly be a lead candidate. And then it was getting close to the deadline. And I thought, oh my goodness, what's going to happen here? And then all of a sudden, 7 people filed. So we had 7 people.
Everybody waits to the last minute for some reason.
So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But the more the merrier, and it's good for the process. It holds us accountable.
What I love about the small town politics, other than covering it and watching the meetings, I just love that stuff. Is the nonpartisanship.
Yeah.
That's what makes it great. You can get things done that way because
we've been pretty good with sticking with that, which is really helpful.
Yeah, because you can see when there is partisan bickering going on, nothing gets done. And so my question to you is, you said before that you need to communicate a lot. You talk to each other. Is she going to run?
I have no idea.
She's never said to you one way or another she's going to run for town council. Never. You said you want to be totally honest with me.
No, in fairness to Anita, I mean,
it's not your place.
With her history on this island, I'm sure the thought crosses her mind. Because she just cares about the island so much. But she's never said definitively to me that I'm running or I'm not running. I mean, she just got her house back. Now she's got this huge business challenge. She's going to have to rebuild her whole business. I don't know what she'll do, but I mean, but I did say that she's not thinking about it. It wouldn't be fair to Anita. I'm sure she's always thinking about how can I best serve the island. She's chair of the LPA. She's putting in a lot of time already. I just don't know. I mean,
I think the LPA.
She's never made a Sherman-esque statement saying definitely never going to do this.
I'm going to have to Google Sherman
she's also
later.
said she hasn't really given me an indication that she's thinking about it either.
So sometimes I think the LPA is almost as important as the council because so much of these major projects are going to be coming in front of the LPA in the next 10 years.
It's a big piece of the puzzle, and we have a very wonderfully qualified group there. They have a very technical background. And one of the things that I'm so excited about, so boring from a process standpoint, but a lot of the stuff that comes through the LPA is uncontroversial. And then and they pass it unanimously, and they give it a good scrub and a good look, but then it has to go through the council again, all over again. These poor people have to hire their lawyers.
I know you're trying to change that.
And we did change it, and it's on second reading now, so it should really speed things along for the poor people who have to go through this process.
Yes.
Plus, it makes the council go faster, and the people sitting in these audience waiting for a 5-hour meeting for their issue to come up, it goes faster. So I was really pleased to see that we could move that idea forward.
All right. Before you get to the last part, are there any issues that we missed
Just
that you have on your list?
We talked about the Mother's Day thing. We talked the other day at the council about the 4th of July parade, which is really cool. And of course, you've heard the rumor that Elvis Presley might be making a special appearance.
Honestly, I had no idea what you guys were talking about. I watched the Elvis conversation and I had no idea what you guys were talking about.
You still see a lot of discussion about Elvis in the tabloids as you go through this,
really,
in the supermarket and so forth. And so
I don't see anything about Elvis anywhere.
Well, you're not looking at that stuff.
The mayor has these amazing contacts with Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, and he has amazing relationships and connections. But I have a unique relationship and a contact with the folks at Graceland. So we may be seeing a special appearance by Elvis at the parade. But even more importantly,
at the 4th of July
4th of July parade. But even more importantly, the Chamber of Commerce announced this week that the sand sculpting competition is coming back.
Yeah.
That is one of the best events for Fort Myers Beach.
Can I tell you a little story about that?
Yeah.
So yesterday, as I was perusing the Facebook, which I do on occasion, I noticed that there were a bunch of stories posted about the sand sculpting event coming back. And I immediately
somebody get some tissues.
I immediately contacted Jackie. I said, well, Jackie, you called me like 4 weeks ago and told me that this event was coming back, but you told me not to say anything. Well, I didn't say anything. I could have said something, but I didn't say anything. And now it's all over Facebook, and nobody told me it was okay to say anything. I mean, how do I get left out of something like that,
I
Jim?
can't imagine there would be such an oversight. But
I know.
The
horror.
Indignity of it.
God, just kick me when I'm down. The tooth comes out. My dog is having seizures, and I don't get the story about the sand sculpting.
I can't imagine it was knowing Jackie, I can't imagine it was intentional.
Oh, she blamed somebody else. That was right quick. Right quick.
But how cool is that? It'll be a diamond head, which is so cool. I mean,
they just opened the cabanas last week downstairs. It looks great on the beach there.
But that sand sculpture competition, it just epitomizes Fort Myers Beach. And it's so cool because they also do it kind of in the off-season shoulder. So it really is a great economic stimulus for our island. And people just love it. It's just it's such a cool thing.
And we have a connection with Bill Knight, who runs the sand sculpting thing. He used to be the manager in Gateway.
Oh, really?
Bill Knight, who runs that, used to be the manager in Gateway, which Chelsea is now the manager in Gateway. So it's a small world.
Well, and that competition is such a cool thing. When I first moved to the island, aside from being part of the largest shell, remember they replicated the largest seashell with people on the beach.
Oh, I remember that was part of that. Yeah,
that was my first really volunteer thing. No, but Jackie got me to volunteer as part of the. She runs that whole thing, a huge volunteer base. But one of the things that she's asked, and we talked about this months ago, was could the town partner with us more? Could we actually get the town involved in helping with the competition? And I think we've got a council now that would be 100% in leadership.
I don't know
team.
if you knew this, but I have been a professional sand sculptor for many years before.
Lord.
And so this year I'm hoping to enter the competition and walk away with the title.
I hope you do.
If I know when the event is, if they tell me when the event is.
There is an amateur, there used to be an amateur section. Now, I don't know if you consider yourself an amateur, but some of the amateur people are pretty good.
Graceland, and then,
so
Elvis
I love that idea. Yeah.
So the yellow.
You know what? I got to tell you.
Go
real
right
quick.
in. Tell me or tell Jim.
It has nothing to do with Jim, but you have to go back and watch the video. I don't know what made me think of this. There's somebody on one of the streets I was on
today.
I think it was Avenida Pescadora, that has the brightest yellow truck.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yellow
Appreciate
Ford.
it.
Thank you so much. And I was like, that's Ed's truck. So whoever's got that
yellow.
wow,
I need a yellow truck. Nobody send me a yellow truck in the mail. I mean, I can
truck for you.
So
anyways, I don't know.
I forgot what it is. Oh, the yellow buckets have been a hit.
Oh, that's what it was.
I went
yellow
down
buckets,
some of the pictures.
I went down today to the beach access across the street from Publix to make sure they were all there. And now I feel like I have to because Mr. Quitter Veach was against it, and a couple other people were against it, and so I feel like I need to go to those things every Saturday to make sure that the buckets are always there.
On them, and then we'll know where they are.
So
But you know, it was a pilot program. And
Yeah.
it's just
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah, but it seems
What's
to
the
be
big
working.
deal?
It doesn't seem to be hurting anything. It seems people seem to be taking advantage of it. It's good for the kids. Seems to like it. It's all good.
Are you getting really jacked up for turtle season? I can anticipate your love for the turtles.
Turtle season is going to be really interesting this year with that beach renourishment going on,
Yeah.
because the dredging project, people have no idea. We've got $43 million worth of sand. Some of it's already been trucked onto the island to do the emergency berm. But the most of the sand will be dredged and pumped onto to the island, starting probably on the north end and moving south. And it's really a once in a lifetime amount of sand for this
gonna be
island.
so awesome.
It'll be transformative. Now the sand probably won't be quite as beautiful as the sand that's been trucked in. That trucked in sand was spectacular. But after a year or so, it needs to bake and bleach.
Yeah.
And
You know, the people that complain about the sand crack me up, because who goes to a beach and says, "Oh man, I can't sit on this sand. It's so horrible, this sand."
No, but
as they're looking out at the beautiful water. I mean,
No.
But you know,
the
it's so
sand is
silly.
a big thing. That
So
sugar
silly.
But
sand.
think about this now too. And this is kudos to the mayor and to the town manager and to our team. That $43 million worth of sand, the town of Fort Myers Beach has put in about $2 million
Minimal.
and change
Yeah.
into that, and we've leveraged $41 million worth of sand, which is really transformational.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a question. So that coupled with, and again, the mayor and the team and our state legislators, quite honestly, were spectacular. You know, the $8 million revenue replacement so all the money that the town lost as a result of Ian, the revenue that we lost has been replaced. Now we're waiting for the governor to sign that bill. Hopefully he will do that. I know the mayor's been putting some pressure on his office, which is great. But the mayor and the town and the legislative folks, not only the revenue replacement, but then they've got the money to purchase the new town hall building. These are transformative issues. These are some big issues. So I mean, maybe they dropped the ball on tearing down some properties, but they get it. They're on it. I'm just saying, so the town is making really positive progress. You know, we have a lot of challenges to go, but we also have a lot of really cool opportunities to go. So I'm very optimistic.
20, 30 years from now, when all of us in this room are dead, because we're all the same age, right? We're all going to be dead. Well, I'll be dead. People on this beach are going to look back and say, okay, those guys either did a great job rebuilding the beach, because I mean, these years, the last 18, 19 months and the next, 5, 10 years are going to be on your shoulders.
Forever.
Well, and we have to, my concerns is, you said, yes, the mayor the other day, what keeps you awake at night. And it's that we had this great cohesion after the storm, because everybody empathized with what everybody went through. And it really was a unifying moment. I just hope we can hang on to that for a while, because a lot of these projects, these new projects, existing projects, they're going to be controversial, and you're going to have people who don't want any change. You're going to have people who just want to go. I'm just hoping we can kind of come together, try to find a comfortable spot where maybe nobody's happy, but we have a positive we have a positive compromise wherever we got to move, and we got to get moving quickly. But I'd hope we do it in a way that it doesn't divide the island. I mean, people are going to be divided on these issues, but hopefully it's not personal. Hopefully it could be professional and with civility, because I think we're going to have some real discussions coming up. There'll be people be passionate on both sides, but I hope we do it in a way that we sort of maintain that sort of spirit, if you will, that we had after the island, after Ian hit, where we have a certain comity amongst each other, because that's a challenge. The other challenge I think we've got, and if you might be digressing again, but I think we've got a challenge with brick and mortar storefront property on this island.
Yep.
I mean, with Chiastero, with the gentleman who owns Chiastero, it's literally a retail plaza. With him wanting to have it be a parking lot versus and not rebuild those retail spots, and then Sea Grape is struggling as well, and Santini's coming around, but it's going to take some time. We need more opportunities for doctors and dentists and veterinarians and people to cut your hair, and it's just basic island services. And we need more retail that can, or facilities that can accommodate them. Because if we just have those locations, then they can raise the rent so high. So we need more competition to lower the rental costs, because the marketplace will fix it if we allow it from a zoning standpoint. So that's why the other day I was kind of pushing just to look at from where the Church of the Ascension is down to Santini Plaza. There's some really interesting properties in there that could be either nice restaurants or medical offices. But the zoning hurdles, because they're sort of we need to kind of be forward thinking about how we zone these areas. They really won't adversely impact. I'm not talking about going into the neighborhoods. I'm talking about the
Just the
properties that
front.
face Estero.
Mhm.
We really need to be thinking about how we zone those so we can have some creative retail solutions and office solutions and have some get our basic services back here on the island. And we need to, this sounds I'm just going to say, we've got to support our local businesses because everybody's looking at their numbers. Even the chains like CVS and 7-Eleven, they're looking at their numbers. How's our Fort Myers Beach facility doing? Right. And so, instead of going off the island, if we've got a goods hardware store now, yeah, maybe it's a little bit more, but sometimes it's very competitive. Let's support our local hardware stores to keep a hardware store on the island.
Right.
And yeah, it costs a little bit more here and there, but it's so much more convenient. It supports a local business. And my gosh, instead of having to drive off the island for all this stuff, it's so wonderful to have things on the island and the services on the island because it makes it more of a nice place to live, a quality of place dynamic. Anyways, that's my soapbox.
Do you want to ask your question or I
just was good as the question. Somebody handed my
came from the. Can I ask you? Somebody
Yeah.
was on the show yesterday, and I'm not going to say who because I don't want to misquote. Well, I don't want to misidentify. Do you think things are moving fast enough? Because I think someone yesterday was like, things are just not moving.
I heard
fast
that, and that
enough.
was I know exactly who said that, and it's a fair criticism because there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline right now, and it appears as if not the residential side that's really moving quickly.
Yeah,
but in
no,
some
and
of
I
those-
don't think that was.
Yeah,
it
I think
was
it's more of
directed,
these
right.
larger commercial properties, and I've asked numerous times. Do our zoning people and the people we contract with, do they have enough resources? Because again, those developers are paying the fees for the town to process their properties. Taxpayers aren't paying that. Those are separate fees that go strictly to the zoning folks who are to approve those properties. So, but I have the impression that things have kind of slowed, and I'd like to see things move faster. I want to make sure we have the appropriate resources and staff. Some of the developers I've talked to seem like the process is going okay. It is a cumbersome process just in general to go through all the various steps and the hurdles. We're trying to streamline that, particularly for smaller businesses on the island. But I see why people feel that. But I think, as we go for the next few months, we're going to have a lot of projects on the
Come
table.
online.
Yeah.
Is the town in good financial shape?
I think if this particular proviso that the mayor and our legislative delegation fought for to replace the revenue that we lost for those first 2 years, I think the town is going to be in great financial
Okay, so
situation.
let's say the
Yeah.
governor approves the budget, you get the free money from the state. You can't get free money every year. Is the town in good financial shape after that?
I think this fiscal year will be another challenging year. But after that, as people rebuild, they're building bigger. And because they can and they have to go up and their properties are going to be worth so much more and they're going to be appraised for so much more. Our Lee County appraiser came before the council maybe 6 months ago and he said, yeah, it's going to be pretty rough one more year. But after that, you guys, the town will be in great shape because the properties will be appraised so much more significantly. And again, people got to remember when you get your property tax, and I understand the property taxes are pretty shocking, but the vast majority of that's for the school and it's for Lee County government, it's for the fire department. The town utilizes about 6% of your property tax bill. So it's a pretty small piece.
Yeah.
Not saying we don't need to be good stewards of our money, but let's keep that in mind as well. But I think the town's going to be in good fiscal health. I think the future is very bright. And
I
We
don't
have
want
a
to.
question from the audience.
I know.
And then
I know. I don't want to forget though, because I will. Like across the street from the outrigger is Charlie's.
Mhm.
There's a canal that comes to Charlie's that there seemed to be some kind of thought that London Bay wanted to make that a thoroughfare for boats to come to the restaurant. And the people on those two streets are going to have a cow if that happens.
No, they've already expressed serious concerns about that. And I've conveyed those concerns directly to London Bay. And this concept of, we don't know what we're going to do with Charlie's. I think we're going to need to flush that out a little bit. I think
Okay.
the neighbors want to know what's going on with that property. They want to know what's going to happen with those canals. And I think they're entitled to know that before we vote on the London Bay proposal. So I think that's a fair concern from the neighborhood. I think the neighborhood wants to be supportive of that project, but they want to make sure that Charlie's property and the canals, that whatever the solution is there, that it's consistent and friendly to the neighborhood. So those discussions are already going. In fact, the president of London Bay just met with somebody on the LPA who lives right near that area, who you know very well, and I think they're trying to outreach to those neighbors and try to address their concerns.
All right. So, but you're not in favor of that being a thoroughfare. You've made that clear. You want the neighbors to be taken care of.
I have asked the president of London Bay on numerous occasions to, instead of using those residential canals, and I understand the efficiency of it, but we have Fishtail Marina just a few blocks south of that, and you could get a really nice shuttle. People could stop at Fishtail Marina, hop on a nice shuttle. You get a fun shuttle driver who kind of gets you warm, tells you a joke. Maybe they have a cocktail.
Hey, there's a job for you.
It's a 3-minute ride to the outrigger. Neighborhood's happy still because London Bay has properties around the county and they want to utilize that property in the off season to make it financially feasible, which makes sense. But again, if we could just do it through Fishtail Marina as opposed to those canals, I think that would be helpful.
I might,
because he's got a question from the audience.
Go ahead, Jim.
No, somebody had asked about the Junkanoo property, which is the Fresh Catch Bistro Junkanoo property.
Also owned by Terry Prasad.
That's correct, and it's in a challenging state of affairs, if you will, for lack of a better term. I know the mayor's mentioned it a couple times in terms of its need to come down. What's going to happen to it? First of all, it does need to come down. That may be one of the properties. I don't know. I've never seen the list that may be red tagged soon. I don't know, but certainly looks like it's a good candidate. But whether that property stays what it is, obviously you've got a major development going in with the Red Coconut. Would they be interested in that property? I haven't heard anything definitive as to how that property will be utilized.
What about the property next to Red Coconut that was also a?
I sent you that the other day. It was for sale for $19 million. I saw it. I sent you that email.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that one.
And I've talked to some people there. They haven't. I don't think they've had formally purchased it, but they were exploring the concept of doing a kind of a mini Mercado. Where Mercado is there?
Cool.
Yeah, it's got kind of a much smaller scale, but having some really nice shops in there, which would supplement and have a lot of customers based upon the new Red Coconut. But again, that was in the exploratory stage. I haven't seen anything definitive on that since then, but I did see it just posted for sale the other day for $19 million. It's a pretty big chunk of property.
Yeah.
The Red Coconut property is, I think, 10 acres. This is, I think, 4.5 acres.
Is Seagate not interested in connecting those two properties?
I think they're interested in partnering with them, but I don't know if they want to take all that on. I don't know. That's a great question. But they're very interested in what happens there because they'll be their next door neighbor. But people kind of forget that that's 4.5 acres. That's a big piece of property.
Yeah.
And Red Coconut, again, 10 acres. That's a big chunk of property.
So are you accepting money for your campaign? Or I mean, I don't know. I mean, how is that whole going to work for you? I mean, you're going to buy signs and
you have to buy signs. You buy advertising. You do direct mail piece.
Gotcha.
I mean, and
so how can people donate to the Jim Adderhole
so
campaign?
Nice to ask that question. The check. I'm old school. I don't have all this Venmo or cool computer stuff. But the check would be made payable for Adderholt, ATTERHOLT, for FMB Council. Again, that's Adderholt for FMB Council.
Can somebody please type that in the chat box? Because we want Jim to get some money.
And they would mail that to 4198 Bay Beach Lane, 3 separate words, number 162. And that's in Fort Myers Beach, Florida, 33931. 4198 Bay Beach Lane, number 162, Fort Myers Beach, Florida, 33931.
So your campaign is officially open. You're accepting donations.
We went to the bank on Friday. It's hard to find a bank that will do campaigns. My old bank, Chase, refuses to do campaigns, which I think is sort of odd. But so we found Synovus, who I think John King used for his bank, and they're very nice. And in fact, it's interesting. They're negotiating with Santini Plaza to do a drive-through ATM.
Wow.
They couldn't get a physical bank there because it's just the economics aren't there, but they want to put a really nice ATM in it. I didn't realize there's such thing as a drive-through ATM, but I don't use ATMs, but I think it'd be a cool concept for the plaza.
All right. Well, hopefully somebody will. Brenda's on it. She must be part of your campaign there. She must be your treasurer.
She's my treasurer. Yeah.
Did you type it in right? She was looking at it in her glasses to make sure she got it right. No, if people can help donate to the campaign, we definitely want the vice mayor to be elected to another 4 years. I mean, there's no question about it. So good luck and thanks for coming on. We can go on for 3 hours talking about topics on the beach, Jim, and we appreciate you pinch hitting for the mayor. Thank you
very much. Thanks. I just want to say to the mayor, hope you had a good time at the concert. He's putting in amazing hours for Fort Myers Beach. He's got a small business running again, and they've got their home back together again. But he's done a great job, and he has put in. I mean, you think about the hours. I mean, all the council works hard, but nobody puts in the hours he does because this town has sort of had, it was the mayor was more of ran the meetings and kind of a ceremonial mayor prior to the storm. That's based upon our town charter. But post Ian, we needed, and appropriately so, needed a more traditional mayor, given all that's going on in this island. And he stepped in and filled that role, and he puts in just amazing hours on behalf. He's got a great heart for the island.
Yep.
So I just wanted to say it's an honor to be here, be his partner in all this, because he's been great to work with.
Great. Thanks, Jim, for
All
coming
right,
on. Big
thanks
hand
for
for the
having me.
vice mayor,
Appreciate it.
everybody. The vice mayor of Fort Myers Beach. We want to say thank you to Jorge Barrera for being a sponsor of Sunday brunch with the vice mayor today. If you want to buy or sell property on the island, you know who to call, Jorge Barrera. Well, yesterday Jorge's vehicle broke down in front of 130 Jefferson Street. So he was waiting for you to call him in his broken down vehicle until he got a jump start from somebody. You would think a guy that was selling that kind of property on Fort Myers Beach could buy a vehicle that didn't break down. I mean, the guy should be driving a Maserati. I mean, come on. Well, when he texted me, do you have jumper cables? I was like, jumper cables? Did they even make jumper cables anymore? It's like with these computer run vehicles. But he's a great guy, and he's been sponsoring our show and the races and everything that we do here on the beach. And we want you to call Jorge Barrera at 239-791-9893, 239-791-9893. If you want to sell or buy on Fort Myers Beach, and who the hell doesn't want to buy on Fort Myers Beach right now? When you get a house and you need electric, call Starlight Electric, because they're locally family owned and operated. Because the worst thing that can happen is the lights are out when you're trying to go to the potty in your new house that you just built on Estero Boulevard, and you've been living in a trailer for the last 12 months, and you turn on the light in the bathroom and it doesn't work. Well, if you call Starlight Electric, your bathroom lights will work for sure, because they are locally owned and operated, and they give a rat's ass about Fort Myers Beach. She didn't hear that one. You can give Starlight Electric a call at 239-313-9611. No, 239-313-7122. If you call 9611, I don't know who's going to answer the phone, but if you call 239-313-7122, it's Starlight Electric. Thank you all for coming to Wahoo Willie's today. Enjoy a beautiful beach day on Fort Myers Beach, and we will see you next week, Saturday at Margaritaville. Tom Torgerson is our guest next Saturday. He is the Chief Cheese at TPI in Margaritaville. Thank you. Bye-bye.